Welcome to Jr. Hendrick Texan Night. Tonight we're going to begin the story of the Catfish King and J.R. Rising. January 12th, March 12th, 1994, 12 p.m. Central. After Ken and Chad arrived, and they had exchanged pleasantries and had lasagna for lunch, they were talking in the living room. Brad's just an idiot, Ken said. He just didn't come to see me in the hospital. That's all it is, J.R. said. First year Bob gets angry because we're not down there this weekend. And then Brad hears how I got sick and does nothing. That's no surprise. He don't even care about you. I miss my family. You'll see them in June. Your grandma's in Mexico, and you'll see her when you come back home in May. We can hang out then. Yeah. And you know what? We can do in the indoor pool when Grandma's not looking. We can take the chairs into the pool and play games. Okay, guys, enough, Joe said. JR has a debate. We all ride there together. It's a competition against the University of North Texas, and we need to be there for JR. Alright, look. We go to Denton in my car. You guys go to the debate. Now, afterwards, I'll be tied up. So, JR, your father has agreed to charter a bus that will meet you at the communications building at UMT. What are we waiting for? Let's go, Ken said. 2 p.m. At University of North Texas, the debate is underway. A portly gentleman in his mid-50s approached the stage. Welcome to the Northwest Public Affairs Debate Competition between Texas Tech University and University of North Texas. I'm Jeff Sable, Professor of Communications here at UNT. Our first debate will cover business issues in the Clinton administration. We know representing Texas Tech on the conservative side will be J.R. Hendrick. Arguing on behalf of the Clinton administration is Jeff Gavin, graduate student at University of North Texas. 7:50 p.m. The debate being over and JR winning handily, they board the charter bus driven by Juan Sanchez. It picks up JR, Ken, and cousin Joe. The bus took them back to the Hendrick barn dominium house in Gainesville, Texas. 8:50 p.m. Having returned home to Gainesville, JR goes into his room and turns on the radio where the Blake Carter Minute is on, and Blake makes this pronouncement. The Church of England decides to go ahead and ordain some female priests. Although that's their right, I have to say that don't fly. Now, the religious persuasion that my daddy and my mama raised me in taught me that the man is the spiritual leader of the home. That means man as a representative of Christ alone. That receives the ministry. With that, JR shuts off the radio and goes into the living room. The house is buzzing with activity. JR, cousin Joe, and his girlfriend, Christina, along with Chad and Ken. Now, JR was going to be going to church tomorrow morning, and so Ken was going to hop a ride by Hendrick friend Jane Reitzman to go see Crystal in Tyler, Texas. He would be back around the time that JR gets home from church. They would then take a truck to launch JR's pontoon boat at North Club Lake. Kim said that they would make sure they've enjoyed the boat ride around the lake that afternoon instead of going fishing. Fishing would begin early Monday morning when it's still dark. Larry Thurber had followed the Hendrick party from the debate and decided to stay the night with them on Tuesday, March 15th. They might go to the Thurber house in Denton. Okay. March 13th. (9:30 a.m. Eastern). Jim and Betsy are at St. Paul's Baptist Church near the house. Sunday school is being taught by Deacon Mike Carlson. They are studying the latter part of the book of Genesis, where it talks about how Joseph interprets the dream of Pharaoh. Meanwhile, in Gainesville, JR is getting ready for Curtis to take him to church, which would start at 10:30. Ken was getting ready to leave and go see Crystal at her parents' house in Tyler, Texas. Crystal's father was a home minister now, and so Ken had to attend their worship service in order to see Crystal. After church was over, he would come back to JR's band of friends to enjoy a boating outing. Now, at the same time in Acuna, an English-speaking Hispanic Baptist minister climbs onto the boat so that the family can have a decent Sunday service. Yesterday, Thomas's family had taken Elizabeth shopping in some of the various shops in Acuna, Mexico. Now, they were going to have church and then a picnic on deck. Tomorrow morning, they would leave the port of Acuna, Mexico, and return back to El Paso. Elizabeth would then be taken to the airport to fly back to Midland. 10:30 a.m. Central. At Crossroads Baptist Temple, JR, Joe, and Chad are listening in church to a stirring sermon by Pastor John Braswell on the anointing of the Messiah and how we can tap into it. This Crossover Baptist Temple firmly believed in anointing the sick as a sacred ordinance. 1:55 p.m. JR and Ken and Brent are in the boat in the middle of North Club Lake. The boat is speeding in the lake at the speed of 70 miles per hour. 2:40 p.m. Central. Docking the boat, Brent tied the trailer of the boat to his 1990 Rolls Royce. He had received it as a graduation present from high school by his father, current 5th Circuit Court of Appeals Justice P. William Clark. Relations between father and son, as of late, have not been very good. Brent was spending spring break in Waxahachie with his aunt. 3:50 p.m. Eastern. After church, it had been a rough afternoon at the Hendrick house in Great Falls. Jim and Claude got into an argument over Becky. To ease the blow, Betsy asked the cooks to make manicotti delight, a recipe from Carl Hendrick. The recipe called for manicotti and lasagna with Prego spaghetti sauce, 4 cheeses, beef and lamb with mushroom. It was a recipe that Carl learned while being stationed in Rome, Italy in 1972. 5 p.m. Central. JR, Ken, Chad, and Joe are playing Monopoly. JR owns St. Charles Place, States and Virginia Avenue. Brent owns St. James, Tennessee, and New York Avenue. Ken owns Kentucky, Indiana, New York. Joe owns Park Place and Boardwalk, Mediterranean and Baltic. The railroads are split up between the 4 of them. 6:35 p.m. Eastern. Jim is sitting in his home office when the phone rings. It's Erskine Bowles. Hendrick, we need you. Bright and early tomorrow morning. Bring your friend Claude if he's going to be around, because the administrative policy window is open and you're jumping in. I need you to mediate to help with this comps company. Alright, I'll be there 6:30 in the morning. At Capitol Hill. Like you said. Shite. 5:54 p.m. In Mexico, Elizabeth and her son's family are dining in a Mexican cantina. 7 p.m. Eastern. Jim and Betsy, Claude and Patricia sit down for a Hendrick family delicacy made by the chefs, which is manicotti delight. No alcohol was being served that day because the rule was it was on a Sunday. 7 p.m. Central. In Gainesville, JR and his friends sit down to manicotti delight as well. A recipe from JR's Uncle Carl. 8:40 p.m. Central. Meanwhile, the group get into a discussion about politics. JR and Ken got into a debate over safe sex. Giving out condoms to schools as part of a government program encouraging kids to be promiscuous? JR said, wrong. Oh, come on, Ken said. Kids are going to do that anyway, JR. Sorry about that, some technical difficulties. 8:40 a.m. and p.m. Central. Meanwhile, the group gets into a discussion about politics.